Welcome to Mental Health Awareness Month.
Hey everyone, I'm Latoya with Going Into Pieces Movement. June 13, 2026, we are hosting a men's mental health 5K walk run. And so for the month of May, we know that it is Mental Health Awareness Month, but June is a Mental Health Awareness Month for men. And so we decided to do a 5K for men and representing everything that they need. So what I decided to do was do videos with men for the May all the way up until the time for June. We're going to do a couple different guest speakers for May, just spotlighting and highlighting them up until the day of the event. So I hope you enjoy this segment of mental health just to hear back from what men has to say and what they go through.
Hit record.
Okay, I'm recording. I always do a disclaimer first.
Yeah, these
But
is
no, I was
moments.
excited. I was like, yay, I get to talk to somebody important.
I ain't gonna say I'm important, but I got some old knowledge and wisdom up in this old body, up in this old brain. I done had some experiences. I've had some experiences. You have no idea. I've had some experiences. And what I tell people right now, in this phase of life is I'm tired of being quiet. I'm tired of being quiet about the things that men really go through and deal with in the dark because I done saw some dark, dark days. I done been in some very, very, very dark places in my life, and those aren't the things that I've always openly spoke about. I speak about resilience, overcoming challenges. Um, you know, the performing under pressure and I had the book, The Recipe for Resilience and all that, but I've never truly talked about the dark days and the dark times that I've experienced through my journey of becoming who I am as a man and just going through the process. It's real. It's been real. And I know women go through their dark moments too, but I can only speak from a man's standpoint.
Listen, we always talking. We are emotional creatures, okay?
Right, right,
So
right.
y'all don't get a chance to talk. So that is actually why I started my whole nonprofit. Like, I was everywhere with my nonprofit. I was like, oh my God. So I had to speak at the Collaborative Center here and when I first launched my business. And I was like, okay, well, let me figure out what I want to do in the world because it's like so much. I'm always like, all my life, I've been like a counselor type person. I want to do criminal justice, which is where some of my background comes from because when I was in school, like even younger days, people always came to me, just felt the need to tell me like their issues, their problems. And I was
Right.
always the listener. And then I was like, let me do this vision board. So I did who, what, when, where, how, and why. And I'm like, what's working in the world? What's not working in the world? And I'm like, well, they're developing all these things. And I'm like, for
Wow.
us women, we have so many things. But I'm like, who cares about what a man's going through? Like, they cry just like
Mm,
we cry. And I'm like,
wow.
um,
Wow.
and I've always
Keeping
been
it
young
real.
thinking this way. And I'm just like, they go through stuff. They cry. Since I was young, I have had guys tell me about them being molested, them being raped, all
Yeah.
kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
nobody thinks about it. And
Yeah.
so when I did the vision board, I'm like, okay, well, who? And then I targeted like men was the start of it, and then I was trying to narrow it down. I'm like, well, double-minded man is unstable in all that ways, so I can't be unstable and try to market things. So I
Hmm.
picked human trafficking, suicide, teen fathers,
Okay.
men, and all these things, and I just built programs around them. And I said, you know what?
Wow.
This is what I want to do with the men's. I want to build a support group, and then I also put on my vision board critics because I knew that I'm gonna have to face some men saying, "Well, you're not a man. How
Hmm.
you know what we're gonna go through?" And I
Hmm.
also knew I was gonna face challenges from women. Well, you're not about us, and I'm like, that's actually the opposite. We gotta help these men be who they are, be in and walk in their truth. Because if we're
Hmm.
constantly judging them, if you're going through something,
Yes.
um, and they always worry about how you feel, just
Yes.
because they play basketball or go do this and go do that doesn't mean that
Yes.
that feeling is done. That's just for that
Yes.
moment. They're relieving it, but they're not actually um talking about the problem. They're just
Yes,
melting
sis.
it for that moment. And then I'm like, so I knew I was going to face some critics in the world. I knew I was going to have people saying that, so those things I already put in my board. I already knew that I was going to face those things. So that's why I made myself ready for it. So I'm like, okay, so what else? Then I took the time to learn like a little bit more about you guys in general as a whole. So I participated in some groups. I don't say nothing in the groups because some men they don't want to talk about it. And then I did a research. I asked some guys some questions, and I just went through that, and then I learned, like I said, the psychological phase of different stuff and of men and of women, and just went a whole there. So that's just part of why I started. So I'm just gonna go
I love
right
it.
into it and
Let's
say,
go. Let's go. Let's
so for
go.
those who may not know who's Dudley Thurmond at your core, who is that?
Who is Dudley Thurman at his core? Man, that's a good question. At my core, woo wee. You want me to undress in front of you, girl, in front of these people, and show them who I am for real. And so, at my core, I'm an I'm an empath. At my core, I'm an empath. Dudley Thurman is a man that is very empathetic. Dudley Thurman is a man that feels everything. Uh, Dudley Thurman is a man that's passionate, and when I say feel everything, I feel everything on every level. Um, I feel on an emotional level very deep. On an intellectual level, when I'm engaging with people, I feel it deep in my core, um, and that's who I've always been. Dudley Thurman is a passionate individual. Dudley Thurman is a person that loves to help people elevate, see people win. Um, Dudley Thurman is a loving soul, even though there was points in my life where not only did people not believe that, I didn't believe that myself, um, because of the way that I operated. And so I've accepted the fact that I'm a very unique being, that I love people, that I'm very empathetic, and the passion has always been there. So those are just a few characteristics to um, to help you understand a little bit better who I am at my core.
Okay. So what would you say, what experience or experiences shaped you to the man you are today?
I believe that the experiences that I had that are viewed or deemed as negative experiences are the ones that really shape me and mold me into who I am today. But the thing is, when you have those experiences that perceive as negative experiences, the majority of the time those experiences are put in place to help grow you, to serve as a building block to help you get to the next level of your being. And that's one of the reasons that I talk about resilience so much. Like my book, The Recipe for Resilience, um, how to use life's experiences or to help you build, inner strength, and overcome those challenges, so to say. So I think that the negative experiences that I've had, the ones that are viewed and perceived as negative, in some people's eyes, were actually um, the positive pieces in my life. They served as positive pieces in my life to help me become the man that I am today. And as we travel through this through this interview as we navigate through it. I'll unpack a few of those experiences specifically to allow you to see more into it, deeper into it, and how I used them, intricately use those experiences as stepping stones, because it takes a thought process to go into a situation that looks negative, and shift your perception to a positive perception on it, and gain a learning experience from it, and elevate from it. It takes a certain way of thinking to be able to do that, and you have to literally train your mind and see good in times that look bad. And those bad times were the times that helped me become the man that I am today, if that makes sense to you.
That makes sense. That people don't know how to. I think that shift and people not are not able to do, and I think that's a lot of times where um, knowing how to navigate through this. I can't wait to unpack that portion of it. So, when you think about men's mental health, what does that mean to you personally?
It means everything to me personally. Um, Immediately, I reflect to just last week, where a buddy of mine's, um, very popular guy in the city that I reside in, um, his 15-year-old son took his life last week. And his 15-year-old son was actually a friend of my 20-year-old son. And it it was a trigger to a lot of youth in the city that happened, um, because there's so much going on in the mind of a young man and even elder men that we don't express and that we don't talk about. There's been times in my life where I thought about ending it all. I'm not going to even sit up here and lie. There's times that I thought about tapping out, and I'm always the one that tell my kids and younger men that that's not an option. You know what I mean? Tapping out and going out that way isn't an option, and that's one of the things that pulled me out of it. But around this time last year, one of my younger son's friends took their life. You know, and just a few weeks ago, it was another young man that took his life. So men's mental health means everything to me, because we struggle in ways that I feel like that people of the opposite sex or women don't necessarily always understand. Um, because I mean, they don't know what it feels like to truly be a man, and and feel like you're facing the world every day, and facing yourself is almost a bigger challenge than even facing the world. You know what I mean? When you got to face the realities of man, of your mistakes, of your terrible decisions, of your lack of thereof, or lack of having certain things, and comparison and expectation. It gets heavy and it gets dark. That's why this season of my life is heavily focused on men, and their mental well-being, and them reclaiming their edge as a man and getting that back. It means everything to me in this season of my
That's good. Cause as you was talking, like I was listening to understand and not respond. But that one part that you was saying, like about how men and their emotion, and like how they just sit there, and have a lot to unpack and deal with. I think what people don't understand is the stigma behind what a man's supposed to be. And that puts more pressure on you guys.
life.
I
There you
feel,
go.
in my opinion, as a woman, it's like, let's say if I was one of them type of women that say, well, you're the man. Okay, well, what does you're a man mean to me? Like, am I saying you're the man you're supposed to pay all the bills? Or am I saying
Mm,
you're the man? Like, what does that mean when you say
what
that?
does it mean?
So it's like a lot of people don't, I feel that they don't have empathy towards you guys when it comes to that, because now you're told to hold this role, like be the man of the house, do this and that. But does man of the house mean I can't cry? I can't feel emotionally? Like,
There you
what does
go.
that mean? Let's talk about it.
There you go.
But I love that. So our theme this year is step into his story. What part of your story that men feel like that you feel that men don't talk about enough?
What part of my story do I feel like men don't talk about enough? Um, every part of my story. Because I mean, when I dive into my childhood, uh, I was labeled as an emotional kid. Okay. I shedded a lot of tears when I was a young boy. I was very reactive, so I didn't respond to anything. It was always a reaction. If somebody did something that made me mad, I would react like that. I was temperamental. So, I would fight fast. I would, get emotional and cry and snap out and be wilding. Like this was me as a young man. And 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 as I, grew and developed and worked on myself and I can reflect on my childhood, I don't think men dig back deep enough into the womb to see and identify what's the reasoning behind the womb. Okay, they don't get to the roots. Okay, they see a piece of rotten fruit on a tree and they say, oh, this peach, this orange, this apple, it's rotten. You know what I mean? Let's just pick it off and throw it away. No, let's get to the root. Let's get up underneath the dirt and see what the real issue is of why this tree or this plant is bearing um, rotten fruit, unhealthy fruit, And so I don't think men dig deep enough into their past, into their history to see and identify the reasoning behind the wound in the first place. And that's what I wasn't doing because I didn't know how to do it, right? I didn't know, as a young man, I didn't know how to truly look back into my childhood and figure out when and where the overreacting, the over emotional, the reactiveness came from. Like I didn't, I didn't go back and look. So I think that regarding my story and how I developed and who I was becoming at a young age, someone should have stepped in and helped me heal from whatever I was wounded from that allowed me to operate in that state. And so men don't like to go back and revisit those hurtful times and places that that has shaped and molded them into who they become, whether that's a negative or positive, right? And so that's where I feel like we don't give enough attention to is getting back to the history, to the root, to see what caused the wound in the first place, if that makes sense. And I'm digging deep and taking a deep dive quick. So I hope you're tracking with me.
That's really that's really good. A lot of people don't want to be reminded of what makes them a part of their story because they feel like those triggers remind them of things they don't want to be at, but don't realize that's kind of what's shaping them and helping them. And as a man, sometimes you do want to realize where you went wrong or right. So I like that and I appreciate that. Um,
Well, just can I piggyback on you real quick? Just to
yes.
double back. And sometimes it wasn't something that you did right or wrong. It sometimes it's something that someone did to you. You spoke
Yes.
about men, be opening up about being molested and raped and different things happening to them. So there are things that men experience as kids that affect them into their adulthood. You know,
Mhm.
uh, I was a young man that was growing up without a father. I mean, no one ever did nothing too crazy to me in that regard, but I was growing up fatherless. You know, I was bullied and pushed around a lot by older siblings and older people. And when I look back to remember back to when I was like 4 and 5 years old, I have memories back to those times. I was very shy. I was very quiet. Um, I was very standoffish. I spoke very softly. I remember that. But what people don't know about me is I was born hearing impaired. So I was born hearing impaired and I developed a speech impediment. And so with me not being able to hear properly, and this is something that I never even thought of. I had to do research to really dial into this. With me not being able to hear properly, I had to learn to make a lot of assumptions at a young age. I had to assume that they were saying this or telling me that or having me do this because my mom didn't even know that I couldn't hear until I was like 5 years old. And that's when they got a surgery for me to get the hearing right. But I had developed a speech impediment by then. And so for me having to um, develop this assumptive way of living as a survival mechanism, it allowed me to be reactive because I had to react to what I thought someone was saying or doing or what I thought I should be doing because I was my senses wasn't all the way there. And so that started my reactiveness right there, you know, and me being pushed
Mhm.
around and bullied and teased and having to 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 turn into this monster, this beast, this fighter when I tapped into that, it just ended up being my life for 30 years straight. Like I was a beast. I knocked stuff down. Put it like that. I got it in my lifetime. In that regards, you know what I mean. I was reactive. I could get aggressive real fast. I fought a lot growing up. I was very active in the streets, and and a lot of that was the result of the wounds that I had that I had got at a young age, you know, and I just kept carrying those wounds without healing from them and figuring out, you know, why I had that wound in the first place and how to heal from it. I was just carrying it around, you know, and it was affecting other people around me, not just myself. And so, yeah, sometimes it's due to unforeseen circumstances that men have experiences at a young age. It's not necessarily always something that they did or a decision they made. Sometimes it's life. Sometimes it's something someone else did to them, and it caused an emotional scar. You know, that sits deep in the psyche of a man, and different things trigger it and uproot it, and before you know you having a moment, you know, because you haven't dealt with it.
Right. So basically, you found the correlation to some of the things, and that's really where some people don't like. So that's kind of like what I was meaning, like basically what you said, like not necessarily what you did wrong or right, but like you said, those things that happen that you find in your lifetime that has happened, like you said, to you, and then people not knowing because you didn't have anybody to show you how to deal with it or how to, you
100%.
know, go through it. So it's like, okay, well, now this is the way I know out of it because, like you said, this is what I heard. And I always say men are hunters and women are like your peripheral vision. And, you know, I make a joke about that to people sometimes. But when you hear something, that's all you hear. You want to solve the problem. You're not trying to go deep and dive and
100%.
go and say, okay, well, this is the problem. Like women want to do all this talking and, you know, men are like, okay, now you
Hmm.
got some people that are opposite, but exactly what you said. And I love that you were able to figure that out about yourself, because some men wait till it's too late and having it. And when I say too late, some of them be done passed away by then and never got
Right,
to experience like what you're trying to experience now, what you're doing and
right.
finding their purpose and stuff. So I'm glad that you were able to identify that, see how it correlates and, find a better way. So,
Yes, ma'am.
um, then I want to ask, was there a moment in your life where you realized you needed to heal or grow emotionally?
100%. I think that realization, the true realization came uh, while I was sitting in a jail cell. Um, I was I was 29 years old. Um, I had been in a trial all week, uh, a jury trial. I was out on a $50,000 bond for the second time in my life. Uh, the first time I had to bond out on 50,000, I was 18 years old. Um, yeah, I fought two cases at a young age, and by the grace of God, I beat those cases. But I found myself back in the courtroom at the age of 28, 29, and we had been in trial all weekend, and it was time for the jury to render the verdict back. And my cap was 17 years if I was to be found guilty. My max was 17. And so uh, after deliberation, the jury came in and the judge read the verdict back, and the verdict came back as guilty. They found me guilty um, of a crime that I feel like I should have been found not guilty of. But this is where that seeing good in what looks bad I had to practice it. It came into play. And so as they cuffing me up, stripping me from my kids, my family, I'm hurt. I'm sick. Okay, I can barely stand up because I'm pretty much about to do 17 years, and they threw me in that cold cell, and for the first time in my life, I truly had to face myself. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to
Mm.
do. I done been in gunfights. I done got stabbed with a 3 foot long sword that went completely through my body, this much to the left of my spine. In my early 20s. It went all the way through my body. I laid on my deathbed and had to recover from that. And 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 that was a horrific challenge. Um, Lost 70 pounds, pushed around in a wheelchair. But facing myself, finally facing myself in the mirror from that cold jail cell was by far harder than me trying to recover from being brutally stabbed. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. Um, because I had to ask myself some difficult questions. I had to uh, I had to have some difficult internal dialogue with myself. I had to accept the realization of what got me there. And when I went through all this dialogue and I backtracked my whole life, I have nothing but time in there. I backtracked my whole life from childhood all the way up. And I started seeing, patterns and inconsistencies. And I also started seeing consistencies in certain areas of my life, um, both negative and positive, right? I started seeing the times that I was put in leadership roles to do positive things, and the way I did this consistently positively, and where I messed up at consistently and continue to do the same things. And I just realized that, man, bro, it's time for you to work on yourself. In this moment, God put you here for a reason, dog. And that reason is for you to work on yourself. You've been running your whole life. You've been running from every gift. You've been running from the purpose that He put and instilled in you. You've been running from the true empathetic man that you are. You've been running from the loving man that you know that you are. You've been running from this shit your whole life, and it's time for you to sit down and start the healing process so you can go out and do the work that I have been trying to prepare you for your whole life. And in that jail cell, after they found me guilty, is when I woke up and I knew in that moment that it was time for me to start my healing process. My journey was truly, truly just beginning in that moment, in that time, in that jail cell. And what I want men to understand is, bro, you don't have to wait till you stuck. You don't have to wait till you're in a jail cell. You don't have to wait till you're on your deathbed. You don't have to wait until you're having a nervous breakdown and you got it to your head and you contemplate, bro. You don't have to wait until that moment to accept the fact that you may need help, that you need to heal, that you can't do it all alone, that you're truly an amazing person, that you truly got purpose. Because each and every one of us, we all have purpose, we all have gifts. There's a different work for each and every one of us to do in this earth, in this world. And when men aren't operating in that, we don't feel fulfilled. We don't feel accomplished. We feel worthless. But homie, you got it too. You got it just like I got it. We all got it. But it's up to you to want to dig deep enough and face yourself in those difficult moments to identify. Now, I can go deeper on how the whole situation unfolded, how I walked through that process, some of the things that I did, how it all unfolded for me to to be able to, step out and do the work that I'm doing today through that moment. But I'll pass it back to you and let you guide it because I take it and run with it. I'll take it and run with it right now. Say the word. Say the word. Say the word. Say it. Say the word. And I'll take it and run with it.
Okay, I told we're gonna have to do a little part. We're gonna have to do a part. We're gonna have to like do a series because this good.
Yeah.
This good. So I think you kind of answered some of this a little bit, but I think that I still would like to fully ask you. But in your own journey, what ties did you have to unlock, whether it was trauma, expectation, or beliefs to become the man you are today?
First, I had to unlock trauma. Okay. And so when I was talking about men getting to the root of the fruit, okay, getting to the reason why you're not bearing good fruit, why the apple is rotten, why the orange doesn't look right, why the pear has big brown spots on it that are mushy. You got to get back to the root because there's trauma that you have experienced in your life that you have not healed from. And when I say trauma, I mean complex trauma, not just one single traumatic experience. I'm talking about trauma in complexity. Okay. And so I had to heal from the trauma that I had experienced in my life, not just the trauma that came from experiences that involved other people, but the inflicted trauma also. Because as men, we have self-inflicted wounds that that affect us tremendously. And some of those self-inflicted wounds come in the form of negative self-talk, the negative self-talk that we've had with ourselves. You know what I mean? The comparison, the substance abuse that men experience as as a result of coping. You know, that's self-inflicted trauma right there. You know, that's self-inflicted pain. And when we think about it, you know, we have to accept the fact that we've been slowly killing ourselves, you know what I mean? And deal with it and heal from it. A lot of men that just keep going deeper in the drinking and the drugging, you know what I mean? Because they don't want to face themselves. Because healing and dealing with trauma is hard, you know? Um, And then comes the expectations, you know, because did you watch the video that I posted yesterday?
Not yesterday. But
Because when you wake up as a man, you finally wake up and you're like, man, I got to get my stuff together. You know, I'm done playing. I'm done. The expectations get even heavier. The weight of the expectations, because you look back and you be like, I've wasted all this time, and I got to provide now. You know, uh, you expect yourself to be able to flip your life around and have it all figured out like that. That's the expectations that you have on yourself. You know, not just the expectations of the world, but of yourself. Because when people think of men dealing with expectations, they think about the expectations that come from their woman or their family, and those expectations are big. But the expectations that we put on ourselves are almost even heavier than the ones that come from our woman and our kids and society. I mean, I've been in relationships where the women expected a whole lot from me that I wasn't even capable of giving. Like I wasn't even capable of providing those things for myself. You know what I mean? But they expected me to provide those things for them, and it wasn't just physical things. It wasn't just about money. It was also the other areas that they expected me to perform in for them that I wasn't even capable of providing for myself, you know. Uh Love, true love, you know. Um I'm having a challenge with truly loving you effectively because I don't even love myself effectively. You know what I mean? And so yeah, the expectations is heavy, you know. Uh, Beliefs is big too. You know, what a man believes about himself definitely, definitely impacts his well being, his mental well being, and his way of life for sure. Uh, you know, not just his beliefs on life, but his beliefs upon himself. You know, and I think different. So I take these things and I and I and I think about them on a deeper level beyond surface. Um, Beliefs. People will have a conversation. Well, what are your beliefs? How do you feel about beliefs? And they're going to talk about their beliefs and their outlook on life. But when I hear the word beliefs, I think about what people believe about themselves. You know, because what you truly believe about yourself, the world is going to believe about you also. It's gonna show. It's gonna show. I have a book in my library right there. It's called Psycho-Cybernetics, and it's about this plastic surgeon. He was a plastic surgeon, and he ended up becoming uh, like a mental health expert because he kept doing plastic surgery. At first, he was only in the business of helping people that that had that were born like with deformities and stuff. He was helping to fix them or had been in accidents and stuff. But then he got so good at his work that he started getting referrals from clients that wanted other things done, uh, nose, lips, and different cosmetic things, and he would take a picture of them before they went into surgery. He did whatever they want them to do, and then after they healed up, afterwards he would take a picture of them, but they still viewed themselves the same way. It was because internally their internal belief system was off. It was what they believed about themselves that was affecting them, not the way they physically looked. Um, and so yeah, what people believe about themselves and speak about themselves has a major effect on who they are and who they become, and men are dealing with it. Men are definitely dealing with that. So yeah, I had to unlock the trauma. I definitely had to start dealing with. the expectations of myself and of the world, making them, realistic. And I also had to really work on shifting um, my belief system. Uh, Firstly, what I believed about myself.
Okay. Why do you think so many Black men struggle to open up emotionally?
Judgment. All we got to do is pop on social media and hop on social media, and we gonna see what happens to a black man when he opens up about what's really going on. And 9 times out of 10, who is it gonna be on the video that's talking about him? What they look like? Who is it? Who is it? You tell me who are the ones that when a black man opens up and talks about what he's struggling with and the way that he feel, who what does the person look like that generally comes after him or puts him down?
I'm gonna be honest. I feel like women,
Which
women,
what race of women?
Black.
There you go. And so if if our people is going to negatively judge him, put him down, or clown him, or make a hooray over him because this man is opening up, why is he going to want to do it? And what a lot of women don't understand is that he's a man, but he's a human being. He's made up of emotions, and if I pinch you right now on your arm, you're gonna say ouch and feel it. If I go up to a man and pinch him on his arm, he gonna say ouch and feel it too, because he still has nerves, sensors, and feelings and emotions just like you do. So what makes a woman think that this man ain't supposed to talk about how he feel, express his emotions, or cry? But he feel pain just like you. He feel the same. His heart pumps and operates just like yours. The only difference is he got higher testosterone levels. He got a few different organs that you don't have in his body. But he's a human being. He's a person. He feels. And our emotions are literally our operating system. That's what give us signals. That's what give us signs. That's our emotions is our operating system for real. That's what lets us know when we are in fear, when we need to run, when we're scared, when we're happy. Our emotions give us all those signals so that we can then respond. And so yeah, we have a emotional operating system just like a woman do. So yeah, it makes men not want to open up for sure. Black men for sure, for sure.
That's good. So, what are the biggest misconceptions about strong Black men and vulnerability?
You said about strong black man and what now?
Vulnerability.
The biggest misconceptions? I feel like one of the biggest ones is that um people think that we don't want to open up. People think that we don't want to be vulnerable. And deep down inside, we do. Deep down inside, we do want a safe space. Deep down inside, we do wanna unpack. Deep down inside, but the truth is that a lot of men are afraid to. And so yeah, a lot of people misconceive the fact that we do want to open up and be vulnerable. Just because we're not doesn't mean that we don't want to, you know. We have a desire to, but I feel like there's not always a space curated for us to be able to do that.
I agree. I like you said, I spoke to like a lot of different men, and basically from both questions that I asked, with that both people don't. I'm like I said, I'm in some groups, and like I said, I don't talk in them, but a lot of things that they said, like, When they say things, I see like some people go online and then they'll like some women are in this group and really was only supposed to be for us that actually are either counselors or therapists, stuff like that. But some people in the group, they'll like make comments under the page and they said, this is why we don't want women in the group right now, because it's like a black men
Right.
heal group. And they're like, this is why, because they're judging, like, because a man crying or saying, what do I do about this relationship? And then this woman jumps under the post and says something. If you are truly like somebody who are in the healing space or like a counselor, or like one lady said, she's not in the group because she has a profession like us, but she's doing it because she's raising black, her kids are black.
Mhm.
But she's on the group just to listen. But when you come in judgment, now you're pushing it back and just showing why
100%.
they don't want to talk about it, because you're judging them for that. So you're judging him because you're like, oh, yeah, crybaby. He's not a crybaby. You cry the same reason he cried, because if he hurt himself, just because you work out all the time and you strain your muscles, you're not supposed to be like, ouch. They're not supposed to hurt you. You
Right.
like, like you're supposed to be like,
I'm a
yeah,
person too.
tough it up.
Right.
What?
Right.
So I like that though. But so what do you wish our community understood better about the emotional lives of men?
Um, what do I wish our community felt better about? Will you ask that question again?
What do you wish our community understood better about the emotional lives of men?
I feel like I just keep delving back into the same thing. I wish that our community understood better that we truly want to be vulnerable. We truly want to be able to open up. We truly want to be able to express ourselves, but we want to be accepted in those moments. We want to be heard. You know, we want to be seen, not just as of of servantship and servanthood. Just men are supposed to provide and protect, and we want to be seen and heard, and we actually want a space where we can open up and be vulnerable. We want that.
I like that. And then what do you, I mean, well, sorry. How does purpose impact a man's mental and emotional well-being?
How does what now?
How does purpose impact a man's mental and emotional well-being?
Okay. Um, how does purpose impact it? Tremendously. I mean, when a man doesn't know his purpose, it leads him down dark paths. When a man doesn't feel purposeful, it puts him in a dark place. When a man doesn't feel accomplished in his personal life, in his personal relationships, it it sends us down dark pathways. So I always encourage men to figure out what their purpose is. Identify what makes you feel fulfilled. Um, identify what makes you feel accomplished, and go closer and get closer to those things, whatever that is, because purpose is very important for men. Um, feeling purposeful, feeling accomplished, the feeling of fulfillment. Um, those things are very important for me. And so I encourage them all the time to figure out what it is that allow you to feel that and get closer to it.
I like that. What practices keeps you grounded mentally, emotionally, and spiritually?
Getting out in nature as often as possible. Connecting with Mother Nature is so important for men, especially masculine men, because men don't understand that nature creates that balance, right, in your life. They call nature, Mother Nature for a reason, because she is that divine feminine energy that allows us to have balance. So I tell men to get out in nature and just get out there and just allow yourself to feel free, with no expectations, and allow yourself to truly connect. Get butt naked in nature, not literally butt naked, but unpack in nature. Get out in nature and journal. Get out in nature and meditate. Get out. That's what I encourage men to do. That's what I do. That keeps me grounded. I also meditate, not as consistently as I have in the past, but I do meditate and spend quiet time with myself as often as I can. But what I learned is that, sometimes when you're spending so much quiet time with yourself, it turns into isolation. And we know that isolation can sometimes, put you in a dark place when you over isolate. And I've done that at times in my life, to where I've isolated for long periods of times, and it did more bad than it did good. So yeah, what regrounds me and gets me back recalibrated, in my healing journey is nature, meditation, um, and just getting out and doing things that allow me to feel fulfilled and accomplished in my life.
Okay. And so, what would you say for men who feel stuck, overwhelmed, or unseen? What would you say to them?
Men that feel stuck, overwhelmed, or unseen. Um, First, I would like to tell them to seek environments that allow them to be seen. First off, get around people that enjoy having you around, that actually see you. Find your space, find your tribe, find your community, because men struggle uh, with being seen so much that they think that, there is no tribe, community, or people for them, in that that provides a positive space. So, find your tribe, find your space, um, and understand that we all have purpose as men. Um, we all have gifts. We all have things that are set aside for us only to do and accomplish in this world. But it's up to us to identify what those things are. So I would encourage those men to start getting out and challenging themselves to figure out what their what their purpose and duty is on this earth. And through them identifying what their purpose is and acting in it, they will begin to see themselves. They will begin to see their capabilities. They will begin to feel the fulfillment of what it feels like to be fulfilled in life, because they have then identified their purpose, the things that make them, that make them happy in doing, so forth and so on, if that makes sense.
Okay. And so how do you feel, like how important do you feel like brotherhood is in a man's healing journey?
I was against it for so many years. I mean, coming from where I came from and being, having people turn their back on you and do spiteful things and use you. I didn't believe in brotherhood for a long time. I recently just started believing in brotherhood again, and me delving back into that belief system that men need a brotherhood. It is, man, it's changing my life. Just being around other men going through the same things that I go through, other strong men that are willing to sharpen me as I sharpen them. Is changing my life. Brotherhood is extremely important. All the women got these sister circles, and they go out and talk and have lunch and get coffee and do all that stuff. We wonder why they sleeping well good at night and we ain't. Yeah. they'll go sleep good at night. Yeah, like how you done slept for 8, 10, 12 hours, girl. How you do? I can barely get 4. Yeah, because they unpacking. So yeah, find your tribe. Like I said, find your community, find your people. That's what I'm talking about. Brotherhood.
Yes, I used to tell my kids at the detention center, 'cause I used to work with boys and girls at the detention center, and I used to tell the boys, I'm like, when I say brotherhood, cause I do understand that a lot of people when they say the word brotherhood, they feel like gangs and stuff, and that's what they see. Like even when people join fraternities, I'm like, find your tribe, but it doesn't have to be gang related. But I do understand, not saying that I'm for it by any means necessary for gangs, but I do understand why, because they want to belong, they
Yeah,
want
they
to
want to
have that
belong.
Maslow's self hierarchy of needs because their needs are being
Yep.
met, whether it's food, shelter, belonging, all those, and they're joining these
Yep.
gangs. And people are like, well, why they joining the gang? Well, first thing, at home, where they getting food, where they getting shelter, where
Yep.
they getting clothing, where they feeling reaching that highest plateau of self actualization, where they
Yep.
reaching that, because when they don't, and the needs are not met, whether it's women or men, but I'm talking about men now because this is what we're talking about. They're gonna go find it, and then
100%.
unfortunately they're on that road. But if you teach them, like I always encourage people to get in big brothers, little sisters, have
Yep.
a brotherhood or fatherhood. And this goes to the next question because you kind of touched on it a little bit in the beginning, but what role do you feel fathers, present or absent, play in shaping a man's mental health?
Man, it's so present fathers, having a present father in your life is a game changer. Man, um, having a present father that is not only present, not only actively present, but there for the right reasons. Because there are some fathers that are there that don't guide and direct positively. They lead their boys and their kids down negative paths also. You know what I mean? Because they have yet to heal from their wounds. So having a father that is willing to grow within himself as he grows in his relationship with his son or daughter, um, is very important uh, in the realm of mental health.
Okay. Now what do you feel like it play if they were absent?
Well, we know what happens when a young lady has daddy issues, or even a young man has daddy issues, because I had them. Because I wanted to have a father so bad in my life, and I never had it, and I never had that guidance. So I was acting out of that desire and that want, and that was part of the anger that I operated out of. So daddy issues aren't just with young women that don't have fathers; they are also with young men that don't have fathers. And I've even saw instances flipping it where young men that didn't have supportive mothers in their life had mommy problems, and they're always looking for a woman to bail them out or nurture them or take care of them. So a lot of these issues with the young men going out. Expecting a woman to take care of them. Some of it's because of mommy issues too. Maybe the mom was too nurturing. Maybe the mom was too
Mhm.
overbearing. So, but these are all things that impact us that we don't go back and deal with. The root
Mhm.
of the fruit. Like I said, you wonder why the apple rotten. What happened? What happened at the root? You know what I mean? What happened
Mhm.
before it ended up on that tree? You know what happened? What happened at the root level? You know, um, yeah, fruits and roots. You know, so yeah.
Okay. And what can women, families, and communities do better to support men?
Um, Listen, see them through our negatives and our positives, through our down times and our up times. Uh, See us, have grace, you know, listen to us, um, have a little compassion, Um, that's what I feel like communities and people can do better to support us.
All right, so why do events like Unlock the Ties That Bind 5K matter for men's mental health?
Um, I feel like any event that supports men's mental health positively matter. And I'm willing to jump on board of any other events out there that's happening that support men and mental health to help get these messages out there at an even higher level. And so I commend you for doing the work that you're doing. I commend you for building the partnerships that you're out there building. I commend you for having desire to want to push the positive narrative into the realm of men's mental health. And so, yeah, I just look forward you know, um, to what you have, going on in the future, so forth and so on.
Well, thank you. If you could speak directly to a man right now who is silently struggling, what would you say?
I would tell him that this too shall pass. I would tell him that you might be in the dark clouds right now, bro, but every storm passes. It doesn't stay forever. It doesn't stay dark forever. It doesn't stay gloomy forever. At some point in time, that the sun will shine. So just have faith that the storm will pass. Because me too have been in a very very dark time in my life where I found myself on the floor in a puddle of tears, crying, thinking about ending it all. And believe it or not, it was a very dark and gloomy day in my life, even though the sun was shining outside. And it was a phone call that I received in that moment from a man that prayed for me, and those clouds lifted, and that storm dissipated, and the sun began to shine in my life again. But it was a process of getting back to the sun. So I want to tell me a man that's in a dark time in his life right now to to have hope, um, to have faith, um, to find someone that will support them in their journey, and the clouds will lift and the sun will shine again. Just have hope, and have grace on yourself, man. That it's going to be a process.
Okay. And how can people, if they wanted to connect with you or follow you, or join your mission, how could they do that?
Well, first of all, I have a webinar coming up, a free training coming up for men on May 6th. That training is called the 3 steps to close the gap between who you are and who you know you should be, who you know you are capable of being. And we go over 3 steps, 3 specific things in that webinar. If you go to any of my social media outlets, you can register. On Instagram, I'm Dr. Bounceback. On Facebook, it's Dudley Thurmond, or Dudley Thurmond Dr. Bounceback. On LinkedIn, it's Dudley Thurmond. You can find that registration link in any of those areas. You can also email me directly at dudleythurmond@dudleythurmond.com, and I can get you registered for that event. And I love to see as many men possible there that we can get there. I'll also make sure Miss Latoya has the link, and if you connect with her, you also be able to get access to the registration page. And yeah, I'm here to answer questions or get feedback or whatnot in any area that I can help.
Okay, well, I appreciate you so much for doing this video again. I think that you gave a lot of great feedback, a lot of things for men to think
Yes, ma'am.
about, to just recalibrate, like just in general. Like I would love to in the near future, we already talked about this, possibly, doing other things outside this video. I know you were helping out for the 5K, but just me, just within the short amount of time following, your work so far, what you're doing, I commend you yourself in the community for
Thank
doing
you.
a lot of this stuff. And it's great stuff. Like, even though I'm not a man, it's still great stuff to follow because there's some principles that you talk about that I think that anybody should know. So, I appreciate that. And you continue to do your work and your journey.
Thank you.